before you become something new, there's a moment where nothing makes sense. You're not who you were, but you're not quite someone else yet either. That's the space between versions. It's quiet here, but not peaceful. It's loud in a way only you can hear. Don't run from this place. It's where the becoming begins. There's a strange tension in this space. It's not grief, not joy, not breakdown, not breakthrough. Just stillness with a pulse. This is what I call the unseen chapter of becoming. It's rarely talked about because it doesn't photograph well. There's nothing shiny about it. It looks like staring at the wall, pausing mid-sentence, feeling the urge to cry but not knowing why. It's when your old coping mechanisms stop working, but the new ones haven't arrived. When your identity feels like it's dissolving and you're scared to admit it out loud. You might feel like you're falling behind, like everyone else is moving on, leveling up, glowing up, and you're just trying to make it out of bed without dissociating. But let me say this clearly, the in-between is sacred. It's not punishment, it's not failure, it's preparation. This is the pause where your nervous system recalibrates, where your soul starts whispering new instructions that only silence can decode. Most people avoid this part. They'll distract themselves with productivity, force progress to prove they're not wasting time. But becoming isn't efficient. You can't rush alignment. That itch to hurry up and be the new you, that's fear dressed as motivation. What if instead of chasing your next chapter, you made peace with the blank page? Ask yourself, what version of me is dying quietly right now? What am I rushing to become just so I feel like I matter again? Can I let this version end with grace, not guilt? This world will have you believing rest is laziness. That stillness means you're falling behind. But here's the truth. Healing has a rhythm. And sometimes that rhythm is silence. You're not lazy. You're recalibrating. There's a kind of guilt that creeps in when you stop doing. Even if you know you need the break, even if your spirit is begging for pause, you still hear that voice. Am I wasting time? Shouldn't I be doing something? Why does everyone else seem to have energy right now? Here's why that happens. You've been trained to equate your worth with your output. The grind, the hustle, the endless lists, they became your identity. So when all of that goes quiet, you start to feel invisible. But let's flip that. What if rest isn't the absence of progress, but the space where deeper transformation actually happens? Here is a hard truth. Resting in the void is hard because there's no applause. There's no productivity tracker for unlearning generational beliefs, grieving an outdated version of yourself, sitting with your own emotions without numbing out. You don't get a trophy for finally listening to your nervous system, but that's the work. That's where the frequency shifts. You're not doing nothing. You're becoming something you haven't met yet. Why guilt shows up. Guilt is your programming talking. It's the echo of a world that only respects grind and sacrifice. But that world is not your master. You don't owe anyone your burnout. You don't need permission to rest. And you sure as hell don't need to earn your healing. What part of me feels unsafe when I'm not producing? Who told me I had to be tired to be taken seriously? Can I allow myself to rest without apologizing? You've been taught to measure progress in milestones. Degrees, paychecks, followers, certifications, status updates. But what if the most powerful shift in your life doesn't come with a timestamp or a testimonial? What if you're evolving right now, in the quiet, in the detour, in the pause, in the undoing? Progress isn't always visible, and that's why most people miss it. Let's get this straight. Progress is not always forward. It's not always linear. And it's definitely not always photogenic, but we've been programmed to crave visible results. We want the glow up, the big reveal, the before and after. We want evidence because evidence quiets doubt. But in the void, There is no evidence. Not at first. There's just you, the silence, and a slow unraveling of everything that isn't real. Here's the trap. You start feeling like you're stuck because nothing looks different. But what you're really doing is integrating. You're not posting about it. You're not journaling your way through it. You're just living it, awkwardly, quietly, raw. That's not failure. That's alchemy. But because there's no instant feedback loop, you second-guess yourself, and right about here, where the clickbaiters show up. If you haven't noticed, this is where the spiritual solutions start showing up, the ones that promise quick results. Fast awakenings. 5 steps to bliss. And listen, there's nothing wrong with guidance. But when advice becomes pressure, and truth becomes another set of rules to obey, that's not progress. That's spiritual capitalism dressed up as awakening. You don't need to buy a course, follow a guru, or join a club to validate your path. This isn't a one-size-fits-all journey. And if someone's telling you that you're doing it wrong unless you're following their steps, they're not helping you evolve, they're just rebranding control. Real progress looks like saying no without needing to explain yourself. Letting go of someone who only knew your past version. Waking up without dread. Not chasing every high just to feel something. Taking a damn nap and not feeling guilty about it. No likes, no claps, no trophies. Just growth that can't be measured, but felt. Ask yourself, what do I define as progress? And who gave me that definition? Am I trying to look evolved, or am I actually letting myself evolve? What would healing look like if no one ever saw it but me? You've played the part for so long, you forgot it was a part. You wore the mask so well, even you started to believe it was your face. But now, it doesn't fit. And the scariest part, you don't know who you are without it. There comes a moment in awakening when the identity you built starts to crack, not because it was fake, but because it was never complete. Maybe you were the strong one, the responsible one, the achiever, the healer, the one who always had it together. And now, you feel like you're glitching, like those traits aren't protecting you anymore, they're caging you. This is what happens when identity stops working. Let's be honest, we don't build identities just for self-expression. We build them for safety, to be accepted, to make sense in the world. But what happens when your soul no longer agrees with the role? You start ghosting parts of your life, not out of laziness, but because your spirit is trying to escape the costume. You feel tired all the time. Conversations feel scripted. Even your reflection feels unfamiliar. It's not depression. It's not regression. It's rejection of what no longer fits. The grief of shedding is here. Even if the version of you you're letting go wasn't fully you, you still lived inside it. You loved people from that version. You survived things because of it. So don't rush to replace it. Don't slap on a new label and call it growth. Let the old version die slowly. Honor the old version of you and let them go. So what comes next? Here's the truth. There's going to be a stretch of time where you don't know who you are. And that's okay. Don't panic and rush to build a new identity just to feel grounded. You're not lost. You're becoming someone you've never met before. Let the unfamiliar be a sacred space, a womb, not a void. Ask yourself, who was I trying to be in order to feel safe? What parts of me are real, and what parts were just survival tactics? What if not knowing who I am is the most honest thing I've ever felt? Stillness is not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's not delay. Stillness is sovereignty. The world taught you to chase, to prove, to grind, to outperform your wounds. But the deeper you awaken, the more you realize your power doesn't live in the chase. It lives in your ability to be still and not flinch. There comes a point in your becoming where rushing feels violent, where performance feels empty, where productivity feels like betrayal, and that's when you stop. Not because you're giving up, but because you finally realize you're enough, even when you're not in motion. Stillness isn't what happens when you run out of ideas. It's what happens when you stop outsourcing your worth, what the world won't tell you. We live in a culture that glorifies momentum, that pressures you to have a plan, a strategy, a comeback. But here's the truth. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is nothing. To not react, to not explain, to not fill the silence with noise just to feel productive. This kind of stillness, it's not passive, it's a power move. Because it says, I trust myself enough not to chase clarity. I'll let it come. Where your power resets. Stillness is where your nervous system recalibrates, your energy stops leaking, your soul catches up with your body. The noise of the outside world fades so you can hear your own inner voice. This is where embodiment starts, where integration begins, not in the next self-help tactic, but in the holy stillness of right now. When was the last time I allowed stillness without judgment? What emotions come up when I stop moving? Can I sit with those feelings and trust they don't define me? Create space. Dim the lights, silence the noise. Sit in stillness, not to fix but to feel. Choose a journal, not for answers, for echoes. Let it hold the fragments you're shedding and the truths that are resurfacing. Title the page, What I Know Without Proof. Light a candle recommended scent. Sandalwood, myrrh, or cedar, grounding, ancient, ancestral. Let the flame symbolize the self you're calling forward. Slowly, intentionally, play the companion sound. 4-3-2. Hertz for nervous system regulation, or 963 hertz to reconnect with your higher knowing. Sit with this prompt in silence. If I no longer had to prove, produce, or perform, who would I be in the quiet? This isn't the part where you rush back into your life. This is the part where you land inside it. Slowly, intentionally, without apology. You're not stuck. You're not behind. You're between versions, and that's sacred ground. So let's mark it like it matters. If this resonated, your next step isn't a sprint, it's a shift. Tap the link in the description to download your free Void Companion Journal and access the sound meditation designed to support your integration process. This is your space to breathe, to rest, to become without collapsing or rushing. And if you're ready for more soul-deep conversations like this, subscribe, share this with someone who's in the in-between, and check out the full Void series playlist. It's all part of the remembering.